Kdrama official starts with Bitna, who claims to be a demon and explains that she is from hell. Then in a crowd a man asks what happened to Bitna, whether she died. Then the story flashes back to some time ago, showing that Bitna had been stabbed and she is taking her last breaths. At that moment her soul leaves her body, and she sees a path leading to a door, which is the way to hell. Written on the gate of the door are the words, "All who enter here abandoned all hopes." Then the door opens and it is revealed that Bitna was supposed to go to the fake hell, but by mistake she ends up in murder hell. She sees the person in front of her, who is the assistant of the judge in murder hell. The judge Justicia is sitting there, and she says that the man is the last human and needs to be sent for hell. At the same time the assistant Valak stabs a man in the head with a knife and releases his soul. Bitna then asks if she is on trial, as she herself is a judge. Justicia tells her that she has arrived, and Bitna explains that someone killed her in life, which is why she ended up there. Valak says that they should decide if she is on today's list or not, and that they should check once. But Justicia says that she will decide business fate. Business speaks rudely to her, so Justicia says she will send her to hell for 50,000 years. Whereas normal murderers get only 20,000 years. However, Valak advises them to think again, because if Bale gets angry, it could be worse. But Justicia doesn't listen and stabs Bitna with a knife, sending her to hell. At this moment we see the entry of Bale, the director of hell. He confronts Justicia and says she made a mistake by punishing Bitna, but Justicia replies that her job is not to care about mistakes. Her job is just to pass judgment. The director of hell tells her that Bitna must be sent to the human world. There she has to kill 10 murderers who have no regret for their mistakes, and their sins can never be forgiven. She must kill them within 1 year in a human body. He also tells Valak that he must go with her. Bale tells Bitna that if she doesn't fulfill this mission, she will die forever and suffer punishment for her mistakes. Justicia gets angry at this, but Bale tries to attack her there, which forces Justicia to agree to the plan. She returns to the human world and enters Bitna's body. In the present, we see Bitna asking if everyone believed what she said, or if she just fooled them. In the next scene Bitna is seen talking with a doctor, who explains her test results. The doctor tells her that her condition is due to a delusional disorder. Bitna thanks the doctor and leaves. The next scene takes place in a courtroom, where Bitna is the judge, and a police officer named Dayan is on trial. Bitna asks the officer about the accusations against him and tells him to introduce himself. He introduces himself as part of the violent crime investigation team. Bitna then asks why he didn't hire an attorney, and the officer responds that he believes in the justice system. He says if he is not at fault, the law will protect him and he will win today. Bitna then tells him to explain the situation. The officer explains that he was chasing a suspect who had harmed a citizen. There was a confrontation, and the suspect tried to stab him with a knife. In self-defense, the officer arrested him, and after paying a fine, the suspect was released. Later the suspect sued the officer. Bitna then asks for the officer's medical reports. The attorney informs her that the suspect is still in bad condition and cannot appear in court. Bitna reacts by saying that the suspect should have starved to death. The attorney asks her to be more respectful. Bitna responds by asking if, when someone points a knife at you, you should stand politely and ask for the knife or defend yourself. The prosecutor tells her she should maintain respect in the courtroom. Bitna replies by mocking the prosecutor, saying that suspect mother and the prosecutor's father-in-law went to school together, so they are speaking of respect. She then looks at her watch and says she's getting late, so she asks the officer for his final statement. The officer says that if he had known it would end like this, he would have hit the suspect even harder. Bitna takes her decision and leaves the courtroom. Meanwhile, children in the courtroom ask their teacher why the statue of justice has its eyes covered. The teacher, seeing Bitna, says they should ask her. Bitna denies that she's in a hurry, but the children insist she is the judge. At that moment the officer calls and tells that there has been released and is coming. Bitna meanwhile is talking to the children, scaring them by saying she is a demon, causing the children to laugh. They tell her no demon could be so pretty. Bitna smiles and children why the statue's eyes are covered. She tells them it is because justice is playing hide and seek with bad people. The children ask why she has a knife, and Bitna says it is to kill the bad people. The children then ask her for the statue's name, and Bitna tells them it is called Justitia, the goddess of justice. The children then ask her the meaning of justice, to which Bitna replies that good people live happily, and bad people are punished. The children then ask why bad people live good lives, to which Bitna responds by saying it's because there is no justice in the world. She then tells the children to repeat after her, justice is dead, and she runs towards her car. Meanwhile the officer calls her, and Bitna hands him all her belongings, telling him to go to the 18th Criminal Division, and give the items to a chubby man with a key. She tells him he can take a temporary pass. Bitna then sits in her car, and the officer asks why she released him. Bitna then sits in her car, and the officer asks why she released him. Bitna says should she have sentenced him to death. She says she has no sympathy for him and only cares about meeting bad people, which is why she's a criminal judge. The officer gives her his card and tells her to contact him if needed, but Bitna says she has memorized it and drives off. The next scene shows the courtroom where Mandu, who is Bitna as assistant in the same valet, who was saying, why is it so difficult to kill someone at that moment? His colleague sitting next to him, and she asks what that means. Mandu frightened says no. Nothing like that. Just then, Dayan arrives and Bitna's belongings are hands to Mandu, who takes them away. Then we see Bitna entering a church. The lighting bothers her so she puts on her glasses. She sits next to a lady who appears very troubled. Bitna introduces herself as the judge of her case, but the lady is scared and says that she has already submitted a non-punishment letter so she doesn't need to talk to anyone. Bitna asks her how she could forgive the person who tried to kill her and accuses her of lying, saying that she should not be afraid in this. Bitna will have to accept non-punishment letter. Bitna tells her to tell the truth, but the lady runs away from Bitna. Bitna starts following her, trying to stop her and says that if she does not take the non-punishment letter, Bitna will have to accept it. The lady tells Bitna that this is exactly what she wants. At that moment police officers arrive and interrupt, accusing Bitna of harassing the woman. Bitna tells them she is a judge, but the police ask for her ID. She doesn't have her ID with her, so the police take her to the station. At the police station, we see Dayan who is hugged from behind. She congratulates him and tells him to take care of himself. She asks for the name of his savior. Meanwhile the police arrive and inform Dayan that Minnie Zhang had called them because someone was following her. At this point Dayan recognizes the Bitna as judge. Dayan reports the case and asks Bitna why she was following the lady. That she was trying to find out the truth so that she can punish the bad people. Dayan takes her outside the police station, and while walking out, Dayan tells Bitna about her medical test results, which he hasn't told anyone else. Bitna replies that she was misdiagnosed. Dayan mentions that he saw her with the children at the hospital when she introduced herself to them as a demon. Bitna asks him if he really thinks she is a demon. Dayan responds by saying he doesn't know if demon exists or not, but definitely not God. If God existed the world wouldn't be like this. Bitna responds by saying that the world is not made by God like this, but by humans. She asks Dayan if he also thinks she is delusional. Dayan says it doesn't matter to him and advises her to get ready for tomorrow's trial, then leaves. The next day we see the trial, where the attorney explains that the accused, Jong Jun, has been charged with assaulting his girlfriend. When the girlfriend told him she didn't want to stay in the relationship, he threatened to kill her. In court we are shown photos of the assault. Upon seeing the photos, Minnie Jong parents appears very upset. Jong Jun admits to the assault, but denies the accusation of threats, claiming he loved her very much and didn't want the breakup. He only wanted to stay with her forever. He apologizes and promises not to bother her anymore, leading the case to be postponed. Outside the court, Jung-joon apologizes to the parents of his girlfriend, but smiles psychotically, showing no sign of regret. Daein witnesses this behavior. Next we see Bitna talking to Mando, telling him that Jung-joon is plotting something. He's not innocent. There is always some plan running in his mind. Mando suggests that they should focus on new cases so they can work faster. Bitna replies that if they work like this, they won't accomplish anything in a year. Mando gives irrelevant answers and, frustrated, Bitna sends him away. At this point, Daein calls Bitna and says he has something to tell her. They meet and Daein explains how Jung-joon was mocking his girlfriend's parents. Daein then tells Bitna that if the maximum punishment is not given to Jung-joon, by law he will kill him. Mini Jung. Bitna warns Dan that he is overstepping in the name of justice. Bitna then says that she will consult with the Mini Jung's parents. Then Bitna is shown meeting Mini Jung's parents. The Bitna tells her that this is a secret meeting, and mother explains how scared her daughter is, which is why she didn't want to report anything. She also says that even if June gets punished, he won't stay in prison for long, and once he gets out he might kill her daughter. She pleads with Bitna to save her daughter, and starts crying. Afterward Bitna goes to the washroom, and applies cream to her eyes to start crying. She then goes out and pretends to cry in front of the parents, promising them that she will make sure Jung-joon gets the punishment he deserves. Then, Daein receives a phone call from Mini Jung's parents, telling him that Bitna will help them in this case. Bitna was crying that later. Bitna is shown very happy heading to the office. Suddenly the chief judge approaches her and tells her that she needs to apologize because she almost insulted the prosecutor and he had saved her. He asks why she says such things to children, things that shouldn't be said. Bitna responds by saying that she was just telling the truth. He advises her not to wear so much makeup, to which Bitna replies, "What, am I not beautiful?" He tells her that a judge shouldn't act like this, to which Bitna just says, "Goodbye," and walks away. Then she goes to her office, where Mando asks her if something good has happened. Bitna whispers something into Mando's ear, who then says that this is unfair to humans, but Bitna replies that it doesn't matter to her. Next we see the trial, where Bitna says that although Jung-joon assaulted his girlfriend, he has admitted his mistakes, and this is the first time he's done such a thing. Therefore he is only fined 3 million. Hearing this, everyone in the courtroom is shocked. And Jun's parents are especially surprised. Meanwhile Jung-joon keeps thanking the court, unable to stop expressing his gratitude. Many Jin parents are left wondering what will happen to their daughter now. At this moment, Daein approaches Bitna and asks why she did this. Bitna replies that as a judge, she can only give punishment according to the law. Daein retorts that everything she said to Mini Jung's parents was a lie. Bitna says that she has no sympathy, because she is a judge. Then she left. Then we see Jung-joon, who has been released from jail, and Daein goes to meet him. He warns Jung-joon to stay away from the victim. Mini Jung's parents try to visit her, but Mini Jung doesn't open the gate for them. Crying, his parents leave some food at the gate and walk away. At that point Daein tells Mini Jung that he has left a smartwatch at the gate, and that she can call the police anytime using it. Mini Jung opens the gate, takes the food and the smartwatch and eats the food, crying. Several days pass like this. Daein goes to check on the Mini Jung's apartment, and we see Mini Jung wearing the smartwatch. Daein is then shown at the police station, telling his colleague that he's going to see Mini Jung. The police ask what the need is, as the case has already been settled. But Daein doesn't listen, convinced that Mini Jung's life is still in danger. Next we see Mini Jung's looking out the window. She calls her father and asks her father to take her. Meanwhile Bitna is shown at the office, upset because Jung-joon hasn't done anything for days. Then Mando arrives and tells her that she can see what June is doing. She then starts watching to see what he is up to. Bitna sees Jung-joon preparing and then picks up her bag, saying she is going to work. Then Jong Joon is shown putting tape on the camera in the Mini Jong apartment. At that moment she feels like it's her father. But when she checks the camera, she sees nothing. She asks who is at the gate, and someone replies that it's the police, and they have come to give her something. When she goes to open the door, she sees Jong Joon, who starts attacking her and breaks her smartwatch. He brutally beats her and she begs him to let her go. Meanwhile we see Bitna again, watching Jong Joon as he continues to hit Mini Jong. Jong Joon threatens to kill her parents if she ever calls the police again. He leaves with his and Ninjong's photo on wall. And when he departs he removes the tape. Mini Jong is about to hang herself, and Bitna watches this. When she sees that she has hanged herself, she smiles. Then shows Jong Joon wandering on the road. And Bitna sees him there. She asks if something good has happened, and when she questions why he is there, she calls him over. At that moment, she has a knife in his hand ready to attack Jong Joon. The scene then shifts to the beginning, where a person sitting in a crowd asks her how the hell looks. Bitna replies that everything is beautiful, just like her. Another scene is shown where Bitna touches a flower. And as soon as she does the flower turns scary. Bitna then explains that the place they live in is worse than hell. A hell scene follows where a wild animal attacks Bitna. She becomes very scared and tries to run away. Suddenly she sees a lady who is a warden. The lady attacks Bitna and says that Bitna must be the girl who ran away from hell. Bitna runs away, but another wild animal starts chasing her. However, a bright light appears from behind, causing the animal to disappear. Bitna looks back at the light,